So at this point began my dilemma, which was I can't leave you alone at any moment.
No. And we were in the beating sun throughout.
In the beating sun throughout. I can't leave her alone. We can't really find any shelter. And I need to go find somebody to help. Also go back to where she was. And, there are other campers there, tons of other people, but obviously going up to strangers and asking for help, which I did. Yeah, no, and which I did multiple times. And I'm sure I looked crazy and stressed because I was. And then ultimately, I'm in the middle of talking to somebody, but that didn't have room in their car. And I hear Gem yelling, "Ah!" And I'm like, when you were yelling, I thought, like, oh my God, if she's yelling this loud, feeling like this, it's done. I sprinted. By the way, my feet,
it was like
my feet are fucked up.
I know. I feel so
because that's
bad.
another don't feel bad. It's just that I had my fucking five below shower shoes, and that's what I ran through the woods through the entire time. But anyway, so I hear her screaming, and I run back to her, and I see a security cart behind her.
It was like seeing a water bottle in the middle of the desert.
No, you don't understand. I was like, oh my God, yes. I'm like, hello, please. And then you're like, don't scare them too much, but like, we need help. So I'm like, okay, guys, hi, this is my partner. She's having a medical situation. We just really need to get back to camp. And they were like a little bit cold at first.
They were a little skeptical, I think.
At first they were skeptical and cold. And then at the end, ultimately, they like probably felt bad and they were really nice. But we finally get to them. I think, here we go. The Krusty Krab pizza is the pizza. And they go, well, we'll take her, but we're not taking you.
I know.
And I was like, the freaking security people of the place. Not only have I already asked 3 people that said no, the security person with a medical bag in the back seat with plenty of room in the car won't take both of us. And I'm like, Jem says, what do you expect me to do when you drop me where I'm going? She's the only person I have. Like, I'm not okay. And she's like, I can't take her in the back. Jem, I know that everything is a blur for you because you were really fucking sick.
No, I convinced them to let you come.
You convinced, not only convinced them, but that whole ordeal took another 10 minutes just to convince them.
It wasn't 10 minutes.
It was
like 5, but okay.
It was enough time that I was like, I can't believe seeing you, the color that you are, the way that you're feeling, the way that you were talking, that they were letting me on the
one
car.
thing that I realized really early on in this experience was Ginny Springs is about 45 minutes from Gainesville, which is home to one of the biggest universities in the state, University of Florida. And I know from being there, sufficient amount of Memorial Day weekends, that place is often littered with college kids.
Right.
And I'm sure they have seen tons of alcohol poisoning, drug overdoses, maybe people even overreacting. And I know a girl my age, probably people make snap judgments.
Right.
They were probably making snap judgments about what was really going on with me in that moment.
When you hadn't had one drop of alcohol.
I know.
And you did prepare a very nice drink for yourself that you never drank.
A Walla bottle. I had a whole temperature controlled
Lord. Anyway.
Whiskey and Coke waiting for me.
So then began, let's get us back to camp when M is GPS dependent. I don't know where the hell camp is.
I hope that was a lesson for you, by the way.
Oh my frick. Well, I mean, we were in the damn woods,
No,
Jermaine.
but I mean, M literally could not find camp.
I mean, ultimately I did. And the last day I had a better sense of direction than anybody.
Yes, but I was holding on to the back of that golf cart with, like, for dear life and almost falling off of it. And Em was like, oh, I don't know where you are, babe. Where are we? And I'm like, I can't even speak. I can barely open my eyes.
No, it was really bad.
It was bad, but we found it.
We found it. We get to camp. It's hot. Jem is feeling terrible. At that point, we literally think we have the keys. We get to camp. We think that this is our saving grace. The security people have taken us there. We're going to get to the car. We're going to figure it out. And we're like, oh, we don't have the keys.
We don't have the keys. And these people are in the middle of a river on a raft going down.
Yep. With no service, by the way.
With no service or ways for us to get to them.
Only one person had a phone or 2 people had a phone.
And it was over 95 degrees outside. Hot as heck.
Ridiculous.
The tents were basically plastic ovens.
Oh, yeah, which I had to go into everybody's tent, grab everybody's fans, and try to cool you down as much as possible, because the moment that we got there and we realized we didn't have the key, it was the loop part 2. It was, here we go. Here's the next part of the issue, because you started to tell me, I am not well, I need a hospital.
Yeah.
Then you started to
And
get
that's a
really
big
scared. And I think also the fact that we had nowhere, like no escape, nowhere to go, nobody to communicate with.
No, because I mean, when I got into my car accident and I was alone at like 5 a.m, and I was on the outside of my smoking totaled vehicle in the middle of the street, waving down cars that passed me by without stopping. The first person I called wasn't an ambulance. The first person I called was my mom.
Yeah.
When the police inevitably showed up and told me that I had to go, I tried to fight them.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody that like, I don't say let's go to a hospital unless I need to go to a hospital.
Yeah.
And I did. I at least felt that I did.
Yeah. And then I was really panicking, and then we were trying to figure out a situation in the tent, but it was too hot and it was like overwhelming. We couldn't figure out anything that was making anything better. It was just worse and worse.
There was no way that we didn't even have the right fans.
It was hot and just bad, and we were wet, and then it was just
and at that point I was now cold from zooming through the air with a golf cart in my freezing cold bathing suit, and also overheating. And I was having some, I don't know, I know that vomiting is one of the symptoms of heat stroke, but I was bad. Like I felt the vomit, the nausea, all of it. And I knew I needed to go to the bathroom. And I was hoping that in there something would get better.
But it didn't. And instead, that's when you really started to scare me, because you're like, I feel like I'm going to die. I can't control my body right now. I don't know what to do. At that point, you were stripped down because you're cold. Your clothes was making you hot, was making you cold. It was a whole thing. So you're like, I need you to go find help now, like right now. And at that moment, I was like, all right, this is it. Like, I need to figure out who's going to take us either to the front, or if I can get a hold of the ambulance. That's when I started to call.
I was doing the same exact thing inside of the stall.
It's crazy.
Which was wild. I showed my sister and everything. I called the ambulance, but I thought you weren't going to get one in time. Or I didn't know. And I literally thought, I felt my body going into overdrive. I felt my body struggling with itself. I literally felt like the slow depletion. And what I thought, what I was really scared was going to happen was I was going to have a heart attack and I was going to die. And you weren't there in that moment. And I literally tried to call the ambulance on myself and they wouldn't go through.
I know. Which is like, what is the SOS feature on the phone if it doesn't go through?
I don't get it.
I don't get it. And then began the real disappointment, was me going around to 4 campsites begging that I was having an emergency and nobody helping me.
I know.
Before, one guy,
what did they tell you when you went up to? What did you say when you went up to them? They didn't
feel comfortable. I was like, I need somebody with a car right now, please, to take us to the front of the camp. Like, it's an emergency. And they were like, no, I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable. And the second one was like, I can't leave camp right now. Like, things that didn't make sense. And again, probably made a snap judgment about what the situation was. And I look young, so they're probably like, here's this girl. She's probably, her friend is drunk, or they're freaking out, or they're on drugs, or whatever the hell. And they just wouldn't help. And then the one person who would help was literally this dude who was in a pirate hat.
I heard about pirate hat dude.
Well, you saw him.
Well,
barely, but he had literally a creepy white van with a soggy, half-deflated mattress in the back of it with all his shit in it.
And a corgi pillow.
And I'm like,
he was my angel.
No, man. So I run over to his camp. That's why my feet are fucked up. And I'm like, dude, please, like, can you meet me by the bathroom? My girlfriend's there. Like, we really need help. And he's like, yeah, I got you. So I run back to Gem, who at this point, when I entered the bathroom again, there was a gaggle of people around you.
And I was naked.
And you were naked. And I'm like,
which is
what?
like so not something that, you would think would happen to me.
And like not only women in the stall, like men, women, I don't know
Men
what.
rationalizing with me why I shouldn't call the ambulance.
No, literally with like a joint hanging
And I
out of
was,
their
like,
mouth, like no, you're fine, dude. Like
I'm
just get, like go take a nap. And I'm like, oh my god. So I opened the door. I'm like, all right, like get the fuck out, like let's go, because the pirate Jack Sparrow was there to pick us up in the creepy white van, and the one Megan who was got you a Gatorade and
little saint woman.
Yeah, she was wonderful. Shout out. And dude, we got you in the creepy white van.
They could have taken us, Emily. They could have abducted us right then and there.
Well,
we literally volunteered ourselves. She literally said, their van.
Well, to be fair, they were like in a 25-person camp right behind us. So I hope they wouldn't have done that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But at that point, what option do I have? It's an emergency.
Yeah,
like
we really did.
What option do I have? You know what I mean? And the Megan was like, do you know these guys? And I'm like, no. And they're like, no, we're cool, man. Our girlfriends are right there. Like, we're good. Like, I'm like, I have no other option. There's nothing I can do. Like, let's get in the back of this creepy van.
We're just going to pray.
Yeah. Anyway, so after that, we decided that the AC in the van was maybe helping.
Well, because I felt it. Even if I didn't know exactly what was happening, I felt that I was overheating. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I needed to be in some kind of temperature controlled environment.
Yeah.
Because there were even moments in the stall, and I don't think I ever mentioned this to you, where I was having difficulty breathing. And goodness. I was like, well, if I can stay in the AC and regulate my temperature that way, then I might start feeling better. And I started feeling like I was hallucinating. Like it was
bad.
It was a lot of stuff.
I was like, you know what? Like, just if you don't mind, just park here at your camp. Just leave the AC on. We'll throw you some money for gas. Like, she could just rest for a second, because at that point, we had finally gotten through to your sister, and she's like, all right, we're going to get off at the next exit. That's like the only information we had from her, but we didn't know where the exit was, how far she was from camp. So at this point, we're just playing fast and loose from when everybody's getting back to camp.
By the way, did I ever tell you that at some point in the beginning of the saga, when I was still trying to rationalize and still prioritizing, like, that I was worried about other people having a good time, I texted my sister, hey, it's me, help. I think I need you to discreetly drive me to the hospital.
Oh my goodness, Lord. But
so Amber was on her way to us.
Amber was, but I didn't know how far. And I kept running back to, like looking over, and meanwhile I'm in my bathing suit and wrapped in a towel, and my feet are bleeding, and and you are dying. And so finally, though, when the pirate closed the car and the AC, and I'm looking at you and you fell asleep.
I didn't fall asleep.
Well, whatever was happening, it looked like, at least for a second, everything was okay.
Yeah.
For a second. And not but like 3 minutes later, they knock on the back of the van. Hey, so we're going to go swimming. Can we drop you guys back at camp? Or, I'm like, oh, fuck.
Can we take you to the front? I remember you said, oh man, I'm sorry guys, like, is there just any way we could stay back here?
Oh my god, in my head, because of course, like they don't,
you can trust us, I'm sorry, you know, we know it's really not your problem. The guy's like, yeah, no, it isn't.
He's like, yeah, no, like, which I get it. Jem's like, dude, they have a life, like, it's not their problem, which I get.
And again, snap judgments about me.
I feel like if somebody really needed medical attention, I wouldn't prioritize swimming, but I understand.
Yeah, I also think that maybe it wasn't very believable. We were saying that I really wasn't doing well, and I'm sure that they just thought that we were exaggerating or being dramatic. I don't know, but I understood. But I think that almost killed me again when we had to get out of the van and go back into the heat. And I remember I tried to make the tent work at that point because I knew that I needed to lay down. At that point, I had no more energy in me to stand up.
It was abysmal. And when they dropped us back at camp, I was like, oh my God. Like, I was also just like, I don't know what to do. And luckily, shortly after, they showed up with the keys, and we were able to get in the truck for you to rest for a little bit. But that, I still think right now, sitting in that chair, you are affected by what happened to you that day. And I think that, like you mentioned, you should have been in a hospital. And I think that
I know it. I would have if I would have been in the city, I would have been in a hospital overnight, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't okay for days. I'm still not okay.
Yeah.
I'm literally energy depleted. I took my body to zero.
Yeah.
And I genuinely spent a moment thinking I was not going to make it out of there.
Yeah, me too. And that was not fun.
I know.
I'm so sorry that you went through that.
I'm sorry. I remember feeling terrible for what you went through. I saw it on your face. I remember when I finally got into the van, like an hour after being there, I kept telling people, like, you need to take care of M, because I could see, first of all, I could see it while everything was happening, the trauma on your face, but I could see it after. I knew that you felt fear for me.
And like adrenaline and fear and just, oh my God. It was just a terrible experience.
That was so bad.
But we learned a lot. And I also think that it's time to freaking listen to your body and rest and kind of like prioritize the things.
The whole day was ruined. I didn't recover for another 6 hours, and I barely recovered. I went from the van to a chair that I sat in the whole night without moving, pretty much.
Yeah.
And there was even a point there where I had a full-on crying fit.
Yeah.
I was in 3 blankets up to my neck because I was, again, freezing outside. But then I had my head exposed to like blasting AC because I felt like my head was on fire. And I couldn't regulate my temperature for hours. And my sister gave me liquid IV, or you gave me liquid IV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I tried. I was like, well, if I go to a hospital, probably all they're going to do is give me an IV. I might as well try to do it myself. Yeah, I just learned so much about not just even how I spent that day or the day before or even the week before, just like how I devote my time in general and how many times I take my body for granted.
Yeah.
How many moments I push myself and I know I'm pushing myself and I'm taking advantage of myself and what I'm able to or not able to do. And the thing is that I know how these life lessons work. They only grow incrementally every time you refuse to listen to them. Yeah. As far as impactfulness.
Amen.
You know, we say it all the time. The universe doesn't stop teaching you a lesson just because you don't learn it the first time. And I don't want to know what the next time would look like. I don't want to get there.
Me neither, please.
Launching.